agenda, which is a group of items to be acted upon with a single motion of vote. This is You would think after so many years I'd have this figured out. It's designed to expedite limited routine matters by City Council. I will ask if a citizen or a council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion, and at that time, either the public or a council member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda prior to the council's vote. The items on tonight's consent agenda include approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes for October the 22nd, 2019, as well as special work sessions of November the 5th and 6th, 2019, and approval of the expenditure vouchers for November the 12th, 2019. Is there any item that we wish to remove? In that case, may I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the addition of $2,626.51.
Second.
Keel.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. We have no presentations this evening, and so at this time, is there a citizen that would like to address council regarding any item that is not on the agenda? Okay. Oh, yes. Please state your name and address. Yeah, just push that button.
My name is Greg South. I reside at 7127 County Road 25.4. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to speak on the proposed land use codes that the City Council is considering. I would just like to express my concern on the overreach of the new land use code. I believe it would be detrimental to new business along with existing businesses. And I would hope that you would consider voting no when the time comes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
My name is Emiko South. I reside at 7127 Road 25.4 in Cortez. I'm also talking from the proposed land use codes. Went out since the last meeting, or couple of meetings, I guess, and spoke with several of the businesses, several people did, and none of the people that I spoke to, except for one, knew about the proposed land use codes.
Okay. Proceed.
They were very concerned about it, were concerned about what it would do for their business, having to, a lot of them use sandwich boards, having to now ask for permits, and for the limited time of the permits, and the other parts of the land use that would detrimentally affect their business. So I am also opposed to this proposed land use codes. I understand that there needs to be land use codes, but don't understand why the whole change. If the land use code, the current land use code, my understanding is it was not totally being enforced, and now you guys are starting to enforce it. Why not just change things that were needed to be changed? Maybe a little at a time, whatever, however it be, why this land use was totally being upended and redone.
Thank you.
Ms. South, I'd urge you to put your comments in writing because we are intending to read them. That's why we extended the time to submit comments, so that way we can have them, so that we can all read them. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
I'm Mindy Nelson, Road In. I'm here tonight to point out that planning affects most people's largest investments. It's very personal for those already here. It is not just for those yet to come. This is just one portion of the updated land use code. Landscaping, screening and buffering. Off-street parking lots shall be landscaped, screened and buffered. All landscaping elements shall be maintained in good condition. Ongoing maintenance, including the replacement of dead and unhealthy planting and irrigation, is required for areas that are landscaped to approved landscape plan. When you can plant, where you can plant, what you can plant, and how far apart you have to plant the plants. Why not change the language in the land use code starting the landscape must put out decorative rock? Keep it maintained from the weeds. You're trying to adopt the comprehensive plan for the physical development of the city, including areas outside the boundaries. The comp plan is not local, and it is intended to guide the local government in making daily decisions based on permits, fees, fines, revenue. It goes against our 10th Amendment. The amendment clearly explains the truth that the federal government has only certain numbered and limited powers, and under the Constitution that we, the people, and the states. Karen, I know firsthand, sitting in a COG meeting saying you didn't agree with something they were trying to pass. You voted for it, expressing we need the revenue. Federal funds destroy state rights. Whatever the government subsidizes with these block grants, it controls. Becky Levy commented she didn't like some of what was written in the land use code, then stating, let's pass the updated land use code and then we can whittle away at what we don't like. Who are we? We know this isn't going to happen. You are all getting high-quality training and bribed into learning how to work the new way of investment for the federal government. This is no secret. This is nothing more than government overreach. You were elected to serve us, not to rule us. We demand tabling the land use code till some of the language can be changed and more public comment can be made. And Kevin Balmer, which was here speaking on September 24th, is the Executive Director of Colorado Municipal League, CML 21, 21 meaning 21st century, leading the process of Agenda 21. As you destroy your little community, you will receive pretty little green plaques and buttons, get little green stars by your name, maybe even get a free pass if you're not already a senior. We strongly recommend the City Council reading the United Nations Conference of Environment and Development, Agenda 21, before passing this land use code. We just recently learned that the city hired Ken and Keys Collaborative with the almost $250,000 to write this updated land use code. Isn't that the job of the staff? Not someone from Texas. This is nothing more than government outreach again. So we elected you to serve, not to rule. This is the same company that was hired in La Plata County by the local government. Thank God they caught it in time, and the consultant firm was fired, and the taxpayers got most of their money back. Come on, you guys, what are you doing?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay. In that case, we are moving on to public hearings. Ordinance number 1269, Series 2019 is the final reading on an alley vacation. Tracy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a request to vacate a portion of an alley located at the address 50 East Carpenter in the Montview addition. It is located between tracks C and D, and basically it is an alley that goes nowhere. It dead ends between two tracks owned by the same landowner. And with the vacation of the alley, this would consolidate the landowner's parcel into one lot or tract. No utility company had any issue with this. There are no utilities in this land, so it's not being used for right-of-way. It's not being used for utility access at this time. And city staff stated that they were okay with this request. The Public Works Department did not wish to keep this portion of alley. The city's land use code has criteria for review, recommendation, and approval, including that the request must not conflict with adopted policies or plans, it shall not create a landlocked parcel of land, It shall not restrict the access of any parcel so that access is unreasonable or economically prohibitive, and it shall not result in adverse impacts on the health, safety, and/or general welfare of the general community, and reduce the quality of public facilities or services provided to any parcel of land, i.e. fire, police protection, access, and/or utility services. Does not appear that this vacation will be in violation of any of this criteria. Utility companies have all submitted letters saying they have no issue. The landowner is actually not here tonight. She has sent a representative to speak on her behalf. And since first reading, she also has emailed me fairly recently 2 letters that her neighbors sent to her stating that they were in support of the alley vacation. So upon approval of this, the applicant will need to file the plat that changes the legal description to include the alley in her parcel of land.
All right, council, are there any questions or comments regarding this?
I don't have any.
None.
In that case, may I have, in that case, let me
Public
open it
hearing.
up to
Yeah.
public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this? Yes, please come to the mic.
My name is David Butler. I live at that address, and I'm here for Rosie tonight because of a trip that was planned a number of months ago that she couldn't, she had to be where she was going. And I want to point out that also the alley, the way it's situated, it's like a T into another alley, would be almost impossible for anybody to make a turn on that alley as well without hitting a fence. And there's also a major amount of trees and even a building in there. And I appreciate your thoughts around this, and anything I can do to answer any questions, I'd be happy to, as well as I could get Rosie on the line if I have to.
Okay. I don't think any council members have any questions, do they? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no questions, may I please have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve on final reading ordinance number 1269, Series 29, approving the vacation of the alleyway lying between tracks C and D of the Montview subdivision, as requested by Rosie Carter.
I second that.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson. Aye. Keel.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. Tell her she's good to go. You can call her.
Well, for the plat.
All right. The next item is a quasi-judicial item. It's a new retail marijuana cultivation license for Mountain Annie's LLC, replacing Mountain Man. I would just like to remind council that this is quasi-judicial. If anybody has had the opportunity to have a conversation or has read anything online or has had access to other sources of information regarding that issue, would you please share that now so a determination can be made as to whether or not you should recuse yourself? Okay. Mike.
Mountain Annie's is an existing operation, which, as I understand it, and Linda can correct me if I'm wrong, there's a medical sales license, a retail sales license, a medical cultivation license, and some sort of medical manufacturing license at this facility. It's been in existence since pretty much the very beginning that marijuana sales were authorized in the city. Mountain Annie's LLC has received a conditional state license, is what it appears in the book. It is a retail cultivation facility license. The process is that you folks now will issue an approval of that license. The things that you need to consider are set out in the findings. When you look through the application and the documents in your file, you'll see that the application is complete and signed. The application fee has been paid. It does meet all the requirements of the city ordinances, the statute, and the rules to the best of staff's knowledge. There's no material representations in this application for license in what we've seen. I think there's a memo from the P&B that the application complies with our zoning and/or distance requirements. The investigation by the law enforcement is they've not had any incidents or matters that would lead them to recommend denial. You'll be able to consider other evidence that if the public speaks. It's my understanding, although I don't know that there's something in the file, that the applicant is current in the payment of all sales tax and other fees that might be owed to the city, any assessment or charges. And unless something comes up in the public hearing, there's been no good cause demonstrated to right now as I speak, but some might be, to deny this approval. And staff has no recommendations as far as conditions on the license, to the best of my knowledge. And if something comes up, we can deal with that. And it's my understanding that the applicant does not own, operate, manage, or control any other facilities in the city, that this is their sole marijuana facility. Staff is recommending approval based on the motion that was submitted, and that you approve the findings that are attached to the motion. And I turn it over to the mayor for a public hearing.
All right, are there any questions, council, at this point?
I don't have any.
All right. In that case, I'd like to open it up to a public hearing. If anybody would like to speak for or against the issuance of this license to Mountain Annie's, please take the podium and state your name and address. Okay, at this point, the public hearing is closed. If there are no other further questions or comments, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion we approve a new retail cultivation license pursuant the approval of the retail marijuana cultivation license for Mountain Annie's LLC, adopting as findings pursuant to Section 15-414, issuance or denial of approval, Cortez Retail Marijuana Code, Cortez City Code, Exhibit 1, which is part of the city's record of this approval.
Second.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Cheek?
Aye. Are the owners here this evening? Are they right there? Oh, well, congratulations, you're in business. Okay. All right. We have no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. The forensic audit update and contract approval. Ben.
Good evening. As I think it was a couple months ago when we met and I provided an initial update on the forensic on the fraud investigation that has started. So tonight is just a update plus a request. The forensic auditors came in September, and they have since they're getting close on completing their work from present back to 2016. Our staff are currently finalizing some of the Staff are currently validating some of the issues found to say they agree or disagree. No further color on that at this moment. That has to complete. The forensic auditors are unable to go back into financial records prior to 2016. If you remember, in 2016, the city transitioned from our AS400 financial system to Cassell. The financial records that the city would be looking to as part of the forensic audit prior to 2016 have been destroyed against city policy and retention policy. The city would like to go back into the financial data of the old AS400. We have the databases there, and see if we can restore that financial data to get the records that are missing to continue the forensic audit. To do that work, the city has been in touch with an organization or a company called Kroll, who are IT specialists, and they are proposing options on how we can get into that data to try and restore it. The first and foremost approach, which of course is the cheapest, is to try and get into data that is supposedly available on our just more modern servers. If the data is there, then the forensic auditor, the Kroll, will restore that data, do some analysis, and provide that information back over to the forensic auditors. If the data is unavailable, then we do have old 8mm backup tapes. It's pretty legacy, archaic. It takes a certain skill set to restore those, and Kroll would then move on to try to restore the data out of those systems. And then again, get the data, analyze it, get the records that we're looking for. We know pretty much what we are looking for, and then provide that data to the forensic auditors. There is a contract attached in the package there. The cost that we're looking at is $4,000 to $20,000. That varies so greatly because of the approach that the IT specialists have to go for. Of course, the lower end is the best case scenario, meaning the data is available on the modern servers and we can quickly and easily access that data. The higher end means there's more work to get in and reproduce those records. The actual fiscal impacts is if we manage to get any financial data off those records, that can actually be put into our claim with the insurance companies. So we might be able to, it would in essence offset these costs here. Additionally is working through with the insurance organizations, it's very possible that we actually may be reimbursed for these costs as part of our request to do the financial data restorations. Unfortunately, I can't tell you whether there's data there or not, and we have to get to the backups and restore that to understand that. It is a possibility, just to be very upfront, is a possibility there isn't any data. However, from my view and the city's recommendation is that we actually pursue with a contract and we engage the IT specialist to see if we can get to that data, whether it's there or not. If it's there, it only increases our insurance claim, or increases the potential of our insurance claim. If it's not there, all it does is really offsets whatever claims we would get back from those insurance organizations. The city is asking for, yes, we have the contract from $4,000 to $20,000, but just in case, in anticipation for flexibility, is if we need to do a little more work, is we're asking if you would authorize the city staff to up to $25,000.
How many years back are we looking at taking this, Ben?
I'm sorry?
Sorry. How far back are we looking at taking this? Are we looking at taking it back to 2015, 2010, 2000?
If we can restore the data, honestly, it doesn't really matter how far back you go. Okay, because the data's there, it's just reproduced, and the forensic auditors, they're already covered by our current claims and everything, so they can go back as far as they need to go as possible. So once that data's there, it's restored. It's pretty straightforward. If the data's not there, our answer's done. We're done at 2016. Okay, we can't go any farther back than what we have today. So it's there. We go back. It's whether we store, 1 or 2 years or restore all of them.
So this is just basically going back and restoring the data, if it's possible to do that. It has nothing to do with analysis of that data once assuming we can get it.
So the IT specialists, they're the ones who are going to do the restoration of the data and looking for certain reports that we're looking for. And if those reports are available, then they can easily get them off to the forensic auditors, who this is how it's explained to me. The forensic auditors then would take that back over because that's part of their audit world that they do.
Okay.
So the amount that was potentially at issue was stated as being around $25,000.
Correct.
So my question is, we're spending $25,000 to find $25,000. Is that accurate?
So I've got to be mindful of the investigation that's ongoing. But here's how I look at it: is there has been, yes, it was said this individual took $25K in 1 year. Evidence is it's beyond 1 year. That 1 year, I believe, if I remember correct, is 2017. We have evidence going back to 2016. All forensic, so if you extrapolate, this is how my mind thinks, if you extrapolate 25,000 1 year, if you go back 1 more year, it's another 25. Who knows? I have not seen or been privy to any of those findings, okay? Just to be very clear on that. The other practice is, it's well known in talking with the CBI and with the forensic auditors, fraud doesn't usually start and stop. It goes on. There is, when you just look at just general experience in the audit world, it could go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We don't know. So the farther we go back, the more we have to put into a claim. We're going to know fairly quickly whether there's data there or not. It's just a matter how much effort you have to get into.
Sure. And so the next question would be, the logical question of, if we're going for the purpose of pursuing claims, where's the time bar come into play? Because to me, it doesn't seem like it makes any sense to go back to 2000 if we can only assert a claim back to 2015. I guess, I mean, that's just something that's, and we also have this potential of, there might not be anything there that we can find. And I would also want to make sure that we don't say, oh, great, we've authorized up to $25,000 for you, for them to not find the data, even if they know right out from the onset that they're not going to retrieve it. So that just concerns that I have.
No, fair enough. And there's a lot of different perspectives of it, and that's why it's your choice, right? The early inclination, like I said, I haven't been privy to any findings or haven't had any readouts, but I was under the impression, once the auditor left, that it was more than the stated 25K. They threw out a number, but in fairness to you all, it's not fact-based, so I don't want to share it to you, put in an uncomfortable position, right? But I would say it was more. And if you just even take $25,000 and say it was 10 years, you're talking $250,000 right there, okay? And like we said, is experience and the experience with the CBI and the forensic auditor saying it doesn't start and stop.
I'm not disputing that, but I guess I want to make sure
I'm just trying to give you a little bit way to quantify it, to extrapolate,
Sure.
because you're getting down to a cost-benefit
But where do we get time barred? Where does it get to the point where it's not to our benefit because we're not going to ever redeem any monies? That's a question that I don't know if you know the answer, and if you don't, it's okay.
Are you talking about like a statute of limitations?
Well, what he's saying is asserting a claim. Where does the statute limit? Yeah, exactly. Where are we time barred from asserting a claim?
Well, you're going to have different factors. You'll probably have the criminal side, and then you'll have the insurance forensic audit side. And the criminal side I can't speak to. That's where your statute of limitations will get in.
Yeah, I'm not asking about that. I'm talking about time barred through our insurance claims.
I'm just trying to from my mind, simplify how I'm thinking about it. So when we talk about insurance, it's really going to come down to the insurance agencies. And if it's, let's say we have evidence that it goes back to 30 years, it's going to be a fight. Even if it goes back 10 years, the insurance organizations are going to fight. If it goes back 5 years, they're going to fight because they don't want to pay out what they don't have to pay out.
Can you hear my question, Ben? My question.
Microphone.
My question is, can we use this to help complete the audits and not just investigate the crime?
These are separate from the audits.
But will you get information from this that might help you get your balances to move forward to help the audits get set?
I don't believe so. There's the current financial issues are more clerical in nature, which is not based off of audits, off of the fraud that occurred. The fraud is an event that happened that have to be accounted for, that have to be identified for insurance purposes to understand where our claims could be. So it is a bit of a gamble, right? And my belief is, if, like I said, goes back 10 years at $25,000, that's $250,000. If you spend, maybe we spend $15,000, not the 25, not the 4, but maybe we spend 15, that would come out of the 250. So you're really, what you bring in is net 235.
You know,
Now,
unfortunately, we've been down this road before. You know, we're in this kind of nebulous area again. We've done this. We've spent money to try to come to these types of conclusions before. And once again, we're asked to divvy up taxpayers' money to try to pursue the same thing that we were pursuing for the past year. Right? And it's, Mr. Burkett, it's really frustrating to be asked to do that again. It's embarrassing.
What I want,
and I understand you mentioned, quite honestly, that it's a gamble. Well, you know, I'm kind of sick of gambling on this issue, to tell you the truth. And it's, you know, it's just more money that the taxpayers are going to have to, that we're responsible for, that the taxpayers, you know, asked us to use wisely.
understand your point of view. The clarification, I'm sorry if I started to cut you off at the beginning, I apologize for that. The clarification I wanted to add is, again, this may be reimbursed by the insurance company, okay?
Yeah, there go, maybe.
Yes, and I agree, but I'm just giving you the information, okay? It will impact any investigation the CBI does. The CBI said they are not doing a forensic audit. They are relying on the forensic auditors for their information. So if we only go back to 2016, that's as far as we're going back. And I believe that's as far as the CBI investigation may take it from a fraudulent standpoint.
To be really honest, I'd be okay with 2016. At this point, it's something, right?
The other point is that, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Lost train of thought.
It's okay. I wasn't trying to interrupt you, but I mean, here's where I have an issue, and I think all of us agree. We keep being asked to approve these open-ended contracts where we have no guarantee of what these people are actually even doing, and we're asked to authorize these blanket amounts, and we can't keep supplementing a new magic bullet. We just got to get it fixed. And I don't feel comfortable authorizing $25,000 knowing that we might only recover $25,000. That doesn't seem to me like a good use of, even if we get reimbursed, it doesn't seem to me like a good use of our funds. Now, if it fixes the problem so we can move forward, that's something I'm in favor of. But I guess when I hear you say it's going to cost between 4 and 20, but you want us to authorize an additional 5, I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around why. Yeah. Why are we authorizing these extra expenditures on these contingencies that haven't occurred?
So, yep, so to clarify, the only contingency is whether the data is there or not, okay? If it's not there, yes, it's not there.
Well, they know that fairly quickly. Is that something that, is that something that in fairly short order they'll be able to figure out that it's not there or it's no longer retrievable, and then we just shut it down and move on?
For the modern server approach, yes, that should be fairly quickly. Excuse me. For the 8mm tapes, it's just a little more, it's more effort because it's a little more archaic hardware, and so it just takes a little longer. The reasons why it's expensive is contractors are expensive, especially IT specialists. They are, okay? Now, I'll leave it there.
Let me ask you, is there an advantage in doing this because it helps us to determine how the employee committed the embezzlement, or not?
So,
Or will we be able to even determine that if we're able to retrieve the data?
right. I'll put it this way. If I understand we want to move on, and believe me, I'm with you. I really want to move on. I want to draw a very clear distinction. There's a difference between the fraud that occurred and the current challenges that we have on the clerical side of the bookkeeping. They're two separate incidents, okay? If you want to know, and this is what your decision is, if you want to know how far back the fraud occurred, then yes, please approve this. If you're saying you'd like, you know what, let bygones be bygones and let's do 2016 and move forward, then we're done today.
Or we find another way, right? Or we utilize the resources we have here. Find
we do not
people
have
that-
we do not have the IT skills on this. We've already went down that path.
So there's no other way. There's nothing we can do on our end, you're saying?
The first option, of course, is to do it internally, and we
Right.
went down that. We just don't have that skill set. There is a plethora of technology that's involved throughout the city. The AS400 is a old system that was in 2016, and it was partly moved on from the old system to the new system.
But it used to be our system. So
Used to be, but
surely
that-
there's still some stuff around, or software around, or people that worked with it that are still in the community that have that knowledge? No, nothing?
No, sir, unfortunately not.
Can I get one more point of clarification? In the language on the agenda, it says improving an increase, and maybe I missed it, maybe I skipped past it in the page, but what's the existing IT specialist contract? Or is that just a typo? Approving an increase, it makes it read like there's a pre-existing.
Oh, well, all we're asking for is, the contract is from 4 to 20,000.
Okay.
And what we're saying is because we recognize, because they do
Okay.
charge an hourly rate, is once it hits 20, if we feel like they're very close, they only need an hour or two more, let's say, is we want to have the flexibility without having to come back to you to just continue on.
At $2,500 an hour?
There is, I don't know the rates off the top of my head. It's in the attached contract. I don't think it's 2,500.
So Ben, if you're going to have to pay for this out of your pocket, what would be you give me the pros and cons of doing it. What would be the arguments that you would use yourself in making the decision that, yes, I'm going to write a check for this, or no, I don't think I'm done, then I'm going to. How is this going to help us? If we don't do this, is it going to affect the quality of the audit that we're able to get?
And this is why I really appreciate the questions you all are providing, because that's what I'm asking myself, right? If I knew we were going to be reimbursed for this money by our insurance carriers, I'd say absolutely do it. There's no questions asked. If we're extrapolating, and if I had to pay out of my pocket, and I'm extrapolating, $25,000, let's say over 2 years, and that's all we get is 50, so we get 50,000, for example, and I pay 25, and I find out that we don't have the data. If it was my business, I'd kind of at least want to know and made the effort to understand how far back this person was stealing from me. Part of me, in your position, and I understand, Ty, your question about using the citizens, the residents of Cortez money prudently. And I appreciate that, because that's exactly how I want to treat it as it's my own. And that's why I appreciate all your questions as well. Is on the other side is, do you also have an obligation to go back to the community to say you went back, you made an attempt to see how far back this fraud was occurring? Do you have that obligation? I don't know. I can't answer it for you. For me, if it was a private business, I actually would want to know. But there's some hearsay because it's theoretical. It's 25 out of my pocket for a business I don't own.
I don't think there's anyone up here that does not want to have some, conclusion to that to that question.
I don't disagree.
The thing is, it's beginning to be a real expensive question, and so that's kind of a double-edged sword there. Yes, we do want to be able to go to our community and say, we tried as hard as possible to get to the bottom of this. However, right, to get to the bottom of this cost you guys quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and knowing that the claim might offset.
But I do understand, and I respect what you say there.
Yeah, and it's not an easy decision. You can absolutely say, you know what, I want to be done with 2016, right? And not go further back. But I want to be very clear because I'm hearing from different individuals, the fraud has nothing to do with the financial status. It's not going to help the financial audits. Okay, that's a separate issue altogether.
Right.
Okay, our books may be poor because someone was trying to hide what they were doing, and that's kind of the extent of it. Okay, so by doing some of this fraud, we might see how they're doing it, what they're doing, and we might then know how to clean up that data. What's going to come down to is, if you have the potential, so again, going back to the example, 25,000 extrapolated over 10 years, and to be frank, I personally believe it's much longer than that. I believe it's beyond that, okay? But let's just say 10 years, that's 250K, and part of me says, this is where if it was my money, I would at least want to try. If the data is not, the worst case scenario here is if we do this, okay, and let's use the worst $25,000 high of contract is what we spend. If we spend that, and we know we only have 2 years of data that ends up all we can put towards our claim, and it's $50,000, all it means is we have $25,000 that came in net. We also can then say, hey, at least we made an effort to go historically to understand that, it might have been 250, it might have been 500, it might even be less, it might be 100, but you have a better understanding of knowing. And it's not easy.
Yeah, Ben, I guess we're beating this to death anyway, but like you said, the 25, so the next month you're going to come back for another 25?
No, because if the data can't be restored, the data can't be restored. So I can't come back to you and say this IT specialist is going to do it now. It's done.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So right now the contract is for 4 to 20,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're asking to increase it by 5,000.
We're asking for the flexibility. The contract would be signed from 4 to 20.
Right.
If they came back and said we need 5 more hours. We want the ability to say, yes, do it, assuming there's good progress made.
So I would assume that if they can't go back, they would find that before they met the $20,000 mark, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And they wouldn't charge that. They would charge to what they actually hours consumed.
Right. And then if they did come back and say, we're this close, is that something then could come back to council and say, look, can we get this extra 5,000?
Yeah, we could. It just slows it down, takes a little more time, and that's fine.
If I may add to that, keep in mind that you only have one more meeting this month and one meeting in December. So if we delay it, it may be in January before they can get back to it. And if they picked up other work in the meantime, we may be in the bottom of that stack then.
And one point I want to, that just triggered a thought, I appreciate it, John, is however long this takes, it slows us down to get into the actual cleanup that we need to do. So that's the only repercussion now. So is this, doing the fraud audit at this point is slowing us down from getting in and cleaning up 2016 to present. It's just, that's it for right now. I'm hoping once we get into the AS400, it doesn't impact, we can actually start cleaning up, but it's all interrelated just from a timing perspective, but not from a audit outcome perspective.
So going back and trying to retrieve records from the AS400 is going to slow down the process? Did I understand? Is that what you said?
The forensic audit that's occurring is preventing us from going in and cleaning anything up at the direction of CDI.
Okay, the forensic audit is slowing it down, not what you're
well,
asking money for
the
now.
restoration is part of the forensic audit process.
This,
It's needed by the forensic auditors to get the reports that were destroyed.
But you said the forensic auditors could go back to 2016 without this money.
Yes, so forensic auditors are currently back to 2016. Anything prior, the forensic auditors can continue that work once they have that data if it's available.
Okay, thank you.
So would it be possible, after the expenditure of $4,000, to know whether or not, I'm assuming that I'm assuming they would start with 2016 and start going back as opposed to going back to 2000 and moving forward?
Right, I believe we would start with, well,
from the more recent year backwards.
I wouldn't say it's based off of year. It would be based off of getting into the data and the data tables to see what exists and what does not exist.
So either it exists or it doesn't? Or are you telling me that parts of it might exist and parts of it might not?
The way databases work, yes. It depends upon the completeness of those data tables.
And why would some be more complete than others if they were all done basically the same way? Is there a suggestion that there was some tampering along the way?
No, I don't know what the process was for the backups and the completeness of the backups themselves, how they were done and performed. I don't even believe our own IT knows that, because I believe that was done.
So nobody knows whether there's any consistency?
What's that?
Nobody knows whether there was any consistency in how the backups were done?
Right.
Jeez. Well, I think we all knew this was going to be expensive. I know this has been difficult for staff because you guys haven't known what you were dealing with, and it seems like every time you turn around, something new pops up, and then it's off to the races and something else that we have to deal with. So I can't, in all honesty, say that we weren't given a heads up that this was going to be a costly little endeavor. I guess what's bothering me is this $25,000, potential $25,000 investment, is it going to provide us with enough additional information to be able to help us move forward and get our audits cleaned up and get processes put in place so that we are in better shape than we obviously have been in the past? And I don't know that that's been answered to my satisfaction.
Let me just put it simply. By doing this, if the data's there, you can understand the extent of the fraud. If the data's not there...
And will understanding the extent of the problem help me then be able to move forward on the audits? That's what I'm asking.
No.
So it's really not going to help us with the major issue that we're faced with right now, and that's getting our audits cleaned up so we can actually start conducting business like we need to.
It's separate from the audits.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Comments?
Heard. I have no more.
May I have a motion? And I don't know, I don't want to run into the same situation that we ran into a while back where none of us really, is this something, Mike, that if nobody feels comfortable making a motion, is this something we can table until we get additional information?
Someone's capable of making a motion to deny it as well, including you.
Well, I can't make a motion.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, you can.
Well, man, that's opened up a whole new world. Well, nobody was leaping to the forefront to make a motion, so I'm just throwing that out. If there's some hesitancy, do we need additional information to be able to make a decision or not?
I don't think so. We already have a contract that's in excess. They're asking us to extend it or approve an increase. I'd make a motion to deny the increase and utilize the existing contract that we've already approved.
Second.
So you still have the $4,000 to $20,000, you just don't have the additional $5,000. Okay. Mike?
Is this contract in existence right now? That's where I've been listening and I'm not 100%
It says
sure.
increase.
That's why I asked for the clarification.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed. Jill, I'm sorry, what was your clarification question that you missed?
The question was, is there an existing contract? You said yes, because they said the language of this says that we're approving an increase to $25,000.
There is an existing contract attached. It has not been executed because we're looking for your approval to execute the contract.
I'm in favor of, I will make a motion to approve the existing contract with no increase.
And I'll second.
It's almost 20, right?
It goes 4 to 20, but not 25.
So just for clarification, Councilwoman Carlson, you're approving the 4 to 20,000?
I'm
And
approving,
up to 25?
no, not up to 25. No
Just to the 4 to
increase.
the 20,000?
What's been discussed?
That's
Because-
what I guess, folks, I'm trying to understand. We got a contract seems to have a spread of 4 to 20,000. And I'm
Yes.
just wanting you guys to make sure you understand what you're doing. Is that what you're asking to be approved?
No,
Or
I'm
you're
asking to
just-
deny an increase to the existing contract.
You're asking to approve the $4,000 to $20,000.
That's correct.
So all that's happening here is that the motion on the table right now is that we agree to spending between
already been
$4,000 and
seconded.
$20,000, but not an additional $5,000 increase. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Sue seconded it already.
Okay.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
So you guys approved 4 to 20.
Russ, the land lease transfer due to a hangar sale.
Good evening, Council. We have a 40-year land lease at the airport for John Hutchison, who has an aircraft hangar there. He's in the process of selling that to a Mr. Dan Morris, and Mr. Morris will assume the remaining 36 years that are on the land lease. So basically, we need council's approval for Mr. Morris to assume the remaining years on the land lease.
I gotta say, I love these hangar lease transfers. I wish everything worked like that, where we're moving one for 36 years. It's great. It's nice. That was my only comment.
Okay. If there
Thanks,
are no
Russ.
other comments or questions, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve a land lease transfer from John Hutchison to Dan Morris for a hangar at the airport.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
You can now go home. All right, the Youth Commission appointments, Peyton.
Okay. Good evening, Council. So on January 22nd, 2019, City Council established a Cortez Youth Commission as an advisory board, a student advisory board for City Council. And we just started the new year in August, which is actually, it's been a few months now. But we had a strong recruitment efforts, and we have students here today who'd like to join the Youth Commission. We have bright students who've already been participating in the meetings. We have a fairly extensive interview process. They get interviewed by their peers, which is a little terrifying. So some of the reoccurring students interview some of the new students. And today we have 4 students we'd like appointed for the first time, that being Laura Stone, Sadie Beach, Willa Rice, and Marissa Moore. We also have 3 returning youth commissioners looking to be reappointed, and that is Annika Lewis, Chris Matimba, and Jonah Sam. Unfortunately, not all of them can make it here tonight. It is a school night, but I'm going to give them an opportunity to come up and introduce themselves to you and maybe mention where they are. We just had officer elections at our last last youth commission meeting, so. Oh, and then our chair is also going to just talk about some of the things completed last year, even though I guess it was this year, as the last board. So if you guys want to come on up.
Hello, my name is Annika Lewis, and I'm the chair of the Youth Council. We're very proud of what we have accomplished this year. We've learned important things about environmental issues, focusing on water supply and droughts over the years, by the water plant company who came and gave us a presentation. We've learned bits about how local government works, and we've also been very active in our community. We helped set up the Easter egg hunt at the park. We also helped giving a youth perspective on the park being built at the old high school. And we've also been very active in our schools, recruiting new members for our council. And we've finished creating our bylaws and have recruited new people for our team, as well as elected new officers. But most importantly, we've created a safe place where youth can share about issues they see in our community. And we are very excited for the Youth Council's continuous growth in the future. So here's the rest of our group who came.
Hi, my name is Marissa. I'm a senior at Southwest Open School. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity to be part of something that makes me feel more like part of the community. So thank you.
I'm Willa Rice. I'm a freshman this year at MCHS, and I'm just excited to have more say in what our community does and all the activities we do. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Laura Stone. I am a senior at Southwest Open School. I was elected secretary for the Youth Council. I kind of joined this because, I needed the leadership hours for one, and two, it kind of helps me navigate our community and help reach out to those who think that there's issues that need to be addressed with you and others. And I am just going to say thank you for putting this out there.
Thank you.
So as council can see, we clearly have a great group of students, and the ones who aren't here tonight are also bright and engaged and excited to be part of the Youth Commission. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, the only question you mentioned earlier, Ms. Lewis, that, there's actually I heard it from a couple of you, the issues that youth face in the community. I'm just kind of curious if you could expand on that a little bit. And what do you guys, as young people, us old people really maybe don't have a finger on the pulse of what the problems really are, and it'd be nice to hear from you guys.
There's a lot of issues with the youth not really being maybe motivated to have a future for themselves. I think our community is a little isolated, and a lot of the kids here aren't really, they don't have a lot of knowledge about what else is out there and all the different kinds of jobs they can do and all different sorts of amazing things they can do with their life. So I think really increasing the kids' potentials here with their future is definitely something that we're trying to focus on.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much. At this time, I'm assuming we need to make a motion for appointment and reappointment. So may I have a motion, please, in a second?
Your Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Laura Stone, Sadie Veach, Willa Rice, and Marissa Moore to the Cortez Youth Commission, as well as reappointing Annika Lewis, Christopher Matimba, and Najoni Sam for the 2019-2020 term.
Levy.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Carlson. Aye. Lucero.
Aye.
Betts. Aye. Noyes.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. Congratulations. Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
Thanks, Peyton.
And can I add just one thing? I just want to remind council that we have meetings typically the second and fourth Thursdays of the month from 7:30 to 8:30. You're more than welcome to come join and just listen in on what we're talking about. Due to the holidays, November, December, we're meeting the first and third Thursday of the month. So don't show up next, or this Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for making the effort to come out tonight. All right. Peyton, you're back at the podium to share with us the EV charging station agreement with Osprey.
Thank you, council. Okay. So as council is aware, the city of Cortez was awarded a grant from Charge Ahead Colorado in August to pay for a new charging station. And this has been done in partnership with Osprey, who has committed $10,000 towards the project. And what staff is looking for is council's approval of the agreement that's in your packet, accepting the donation from council, and it outlines city responsibilities for constructing and maintaining the charging station at the Cortez Welcome Center.
Are there any questions, council?
So this agreement is just with Osprey, right?
Yeah, this is just for agreement with Osprey.
Everything's legal on that, Mike?
Yes, sir. Actually, this is one of the more worked over agreements.
I was going to say, I want to come and haunt us later, that we have to pay it back.
We talk about, I think I saw in there where they still wanted their 2 free chargings. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Was that annually? Was that monthly? Was that just a one-time deal? I can't recall.
So one-time deal, the idea behind it is Osprey really does want to encourage their employees to purchase EVs. So the idea is if they get the first 2 charges free, maybe that would incentivize them to go out and buy an electric vehicle.
Right, we were kind of unsure about how that actually works as far as the billing cycle is concerned and how that would be set as far as the, you know, there was still, I remember there still being some questions out there about this charging station that I wasn't sure that we got to the bottom of. That being one of them, setting the rate, how is it that we're going to afford certain people free charges and everyone else has to pay? And I can't remember us coming to any sort of real formal conclusion on that stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's been a while since we've had the workshop to kind of discuss it. And we haven't officially set a rate. I know that the state would like to keep the rate reasonable. We don't want to discourage people from charging their vehicle because it's set too high. I think what's been talked about and what some of the contractors have seen is an hour, $1 per hour or something reasonable like that. We can't charge per kilowatt hour because it would be, because Empire Electric wouldn't like to see that. But what we discussed at the workshop is charging everyone the service fee, so no one would be exempt from that, with an exception of this agreement and having Osprey employees receive their first 2 charges free. So that'd be per employee, which would be limited.
And not every employee has an electric automobile, so.
And if every employee were to take advantage of this, it would in no way exceed the $10,000 that they're donating.
So
No, I didn't have any, I didn't think that was even a question where, I mean, that's not even a possibility, but I do remember also talking to him about the fact that those employees that do own electric vehicles don't live in Montezuma County though either. Or maybe one lives in Mancos, one lives in Durango. Right. Okay. We also had a presentation by another charging station group fairly recently, and I believe they had talked to the county some as well, or you guys were in, maybe had talked to them. not affiliated with this group, this charging station at all, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay.
my understanding is that it was discussed at the recent city-county meeting, and the discussion was to let the county move forward with that project.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't able to make that meeting, so, all right, thank you.
I think there's a great article in the newspaper about it.
And I can't remember the cost per kilowatt hour orally, so would $1 cover that? Plus, what's the cost?
You're looking at a pretty good cost on everything. I haven't seen really a real final
Well, how
wording
much
on
did
these
Empire
EV
charge
charging
for a
systems.
kilowatt hour?
So I couldn't answer that one, because every time I visit with these EV charging people, I never get a direct answer.
But how much does Empire charge for a kilowatt hour?
11.
11 cents? So if we charged $1 per kilowatt hour, is that how much it uses an hour?
If I'm remembering correctly, and the best way to kind of put it into context is I think it was $4.25 for a 4-hour charge, if I'm remembering correctly.
Is that the cost, or is that is that the cost of the electricity for a 4-hour charge?
Yeah, that's the cost for electricity, and then we could charge.
So if we charged $1.25, that would cover our cost?
Yeah.
And a little extra?
I
Or even if we
might be off.
charged
I
enough to
should
break
actually-
even?
I should double check my numbers because
Okay.
I don't have them in front of me.
And so we approved this, and then is the plan just to leave it up to you guys to set the price, or?
We can take that before council and set a price. I haven't really thought that far ahead.
It would be nice to package this whole thing together, Mike, from a legal
Well,
standpoint.
I think it's two separate issues. This one is just a contract with Osprey regarding their contribution. I think council is, when you set your fees with part of the budget, you would be setting the fees that you charge people, because it's going to be to the public. So I don't know that it's any different than setting the fee to get in the rec center.
D is this, E is the contractor for EV charging stations, so wouldn't that have something to do with that?
So it's just building it, it's not what we provided to the public. I get what you're saying, but I don't see.
I know. I just think that, it would be nice to bundle all this into one.
I know, but I just think we have too many unknowns.
And if that's not easy, then, or not necessary, then that's fine.
Sounds like we don't have, well, the other option is tabling it to bundle it all into one, but that could cause issues.
No thanks.
Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so are there any other questions
Okay, I
regarding
got one more here, on the terms, on the condition, it'd be 15 years, it should be terminated after 15 years. What's the 15 years?
That's Osprey, our deal with them.
So they'll get 15 years of free charging?
No, they get 2 free charges per employee purchasing a electric vehicle. They get other things, as I recall, in the agreement, advertising, they get sponsorship credit, they get to claim that they had something to do with this, if you will. And that's what this contract is more about, how we're going to deal with them.
It's a marketing deal.
The agreement with Osprey goes 15 years, and so every time one of their employees buys an electric vehicle, that employee would get 2 free charges for the next
Per day,
15 years.
but per day.
No, it's not for 15 years, they just get, period.
Period?
Yeah,
Okay.
in other words, if I'm a car, I go around Monday, I charge it, I use one, I go back on Tuesday, I charge it, I've used up my 2 free charges, as I understand it. Not per day, but per car.
Okay.
All right.
We have to pay the guy who sets this up extra to have these little nuances put into the technological end of it? 2 free charges, and then someone else comes along, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, does that cause us more cost on the front end to have these nuances put into the technological end of the software that goes into these machines?
My understanding is that we're paying for software. That's regardless, I think that's with all EV charging stations. And in discussions with the charging stations that we have proposed, and the next item on the agenda is that the software is capable of handling these kind of nuances.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, if there are no other questions or comments, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion we approve the agreement between the City of Cortez and Osprey LLC for Osprey's donation of $10,000 toward the purchase and installation of an EV charging station at the Cortez Welcome Center.
Second.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Moving right along.
Okay.
We are.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Turtles.
So the city, with Osprey's assistance, has received 3 quotes for the level 2 charging station that's being proposed at the Welcome Center. We just want to make sure that the prices were competitive. We received quotes from 2 Durango companies, SolarWorks and Living Solar, and then 1 company out of Denver, National Car Charging LLC. The quotes were fairly close, between $25,000 and $28,000. The one stipulation with SolarWorks, the lowest bid is that they require a solar array on top of it. It's just kind of part of their deal. So we don't really see that as a valid quote. So we have Living Solar, which has a quote for $30,330, and that includes software, maintenance, install, construction, and a quote from National Car Charging LLC for $28,525.50 for the same package. And both are offering the same type of charging station, same maintenance plan, same software, so they're pretty much the same product. Living Solar is the more local option. They're likely the ones who are going to be coming and doing the maintenance with the maintenance plan, regardless of who we choose. And in talking to the Four Corners Office for Resource Efficiency, they highly recommended Living Solar. They've done a lot of projects in the area, but ultimately it's up to council to decide who they'd like to contract with for the charging station. And just a reminder on the costs. Costs are estimated to be around $30,000, maybe less, of the total project. $9,000 will come from the Charge Ahead Colorado grant. $3,000 will hopefully come from a rebate with Empire Electric, which I got the application for that. $10,000 will be with the sponsorship from Osprey, which will leave the city on the hook for somewhere between $6,500 to $8,500, depending on who council decides to go with for a contractor.
I have a question about the, basically the tech support for these 2 companies. Living Solar has people in Durango. Does National Car Charging have that as well?
No, I don't believe they have anyone officed out of Durango. I think they would call on for the maintenance, I think they would send out a call to all of the certified charge point technicians, and Durango would probably be the closest, and probably be Ben Jason from Living Solar that would come and service the charging
So
stations.
there would be an advantage to having Living Solar and Durango close by?
I mean, it's a close quote, and Ben has been really responsive, and part of this is we hope to get this project done and completed by the end of the year, and actually both companies have assured us they will do that. I mean, there could be a benefit to having someone just down the road in case something crops up.
Thank you.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve the City of Cortez contract with Living Solar of Durango, Colorado to provide all the materials and labor for the installation of an EV charging station to be located at the Cortez Welcome Center.
I second that.
Lucero?
Here? No. Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts? Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Mike Green, refund for Hampton Inn's liquor license that they didn't use.
What happened was
Mike, do you have your mic on?
Thank you. Hampton Inn applied for a liquor license that doesn't exist. When we sent it up to the state advised us that they can't do what they want. What staff and I are recommending is that we refund them their money because this was something we couldn't do for them. We tried. We have funny story. The clerk traveled somewhere and thought wow, you can do this, and we get to the state and they go, that's not legal. So the Hampton Inn is unable to get a liquor license for you to take alcohol to your rooms. And so staff recommends we give them the money back because we can't do what they're paying for.
So the amount of money they pay was that 1048, right?
What I'm understanding, yes, the 1048.75 would, but we would refund to them.
With that money in there, can we take out our time? All the time you guys put into it?
I don't have but 5 or 10 minutes saying, yes, I think we should give them their money
Whoa.
back. Because
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa, we're short.
What's your hourly rate?
Orly, that's correct. We do have some time in it. We have spent time having the public hearing. You guys approved a license for them. But I think all of us were quite surprised, including the state liquor enforcement, that this couldn't happen. And we've been through many discussions all the way to the top in Denver. And I think all of us are just sort of surprised this isn't possible to do. So I just feel comfortable giving them back what they paid us when.
Well, and I think especially if we represented that we were capable of doing it and they contracted with us on that basis, I think that, I agree.
I think it's worth the goodwill. All right, may I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we approve the refund to Hampton Inn, a refund for $1,048.75 to AAA Hotel Developers for the return of fees paid for a liquor license that was never issued.
Second.
Lucero.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, ordinance 1271, appropriating 2020 expenditures and setting the mill levy. Ben.
Right, so ordinance 1271 is the first reading of the draft 2020 budget. After last week's working sessions, which I appreciate everyone's time, we had a lot of good conversation, and it was a fun process to go through for my first one. So I want to rest assured that the changes that you all requested have been incorporated in the new budget proposed. The budget revisions really was, if I remember right, the one position being taken out. That was taken out and adjusted accordingly. The budget was loaded back up to the city website today. The first reading here is the appropriations of the budget and the initial mill levy of 1.29 for next year. The general fund operating budget of 12.2 million, and then you have in your memo there the details of the other funds with the total city all funds budget of 30.149 million. One thing I just want to point out is this does include the depreciation expense, just so you're aware if you're trying to reconcile to the budget that was loaded in what we discussed last week. Okay. And then so this is the first reading, and the final public reading is to be held on November 26th, 2019.
Okay, do I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 1271, series 2019, appropriating 2020 expenditures and setting the mill levy for 2020 as set for final reading on November 26, 2019.
Second.
Betts.
Nay.
Lucero.
Nay.
Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Nay.
Levy.
Aye.
Noise.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. All right, Resolution 29, Series 2019, approving, supporting the application for a grant between the City of Cortez and the History Colorado. Peyton.
On July 28th, 2019, the City of Cortez received designation from the National Park Service as a certified local government, CLG. Since then, the city has received 7 CLG grants from History Colorado, totaling $113,213 to inventory properties within the original town site and create a podcast of Montezuma ad for a walking tour. As a result of these grants, 166 individual properties within the city have been inventoried. Of those surveyed, 150 properties were determined eligible for the City Register of Historic Sites. 46 of them have since applied to the city and received historic designation from the City Register. So staff is requesting to pursue a 2020 grant for another CLG to inventory another 22 properties. The total of the grant is $19,425, and there is no match required for this grant. The properties would be between 1st and 2nd Streets, and I'm actually going to let Linda Toll from the Historic Preservation Board talk more about the properties to be inventoried with this new grant.
Okay.
So I'm Linda Toll. I'm Vice Chairman of the Cortez Historic Preservation Board, and it occurred to me today that this might be a little clearer if you had a map. I mean, I know you all know where the streets in Cortez are, but this will be we've completed 5 inventories starting in 2011. We started on Montezuma Avenue because everyone thinks it's the most historic street in town, and I'm quite surprised to tell you that we have made it all the way down to the other side, the south side of Main Street. Oops. And the map you have in front of you shows the dotted green lines are for this year's inventory that has just begun. You approved a contract for Woods Canyon Archaeological Consultants this fall. Tomorrow night, here in the Mesa Verde Room at 6 o'clock, will be our meeting with the property owners that are shown within the green boundaries here. I'm here tonight to suggest that we continue this inventory and we move further south. Specifically, again, the original town site boundaries are the dark lines, so we would, in this 2020 grant, be looking at the connector streets, Maple, Linden, Elm, Chestnut, and Market, between 1st and 2nd Street, and also doing the inventory on 2nd Street, because there aren't that many properties there that would be considered. So then we're pretty close. West 3rd Street, or 3rd Street, is the southern boundary of the original town site, and conceivably we could accomplish that in a 2021 grant, if of course we succeed this year. And I'm quite amazed that we might actually have accomplished that much. The 2019 grant that will kick off tomorrow night, some of those properties are actually houses that were moved here from the town of McPhee, and there have been stories floating around about those for a while, so now we have a historical architect who's actually tracking down the information on that. And we've already had a couple of people call and say they can't come tomorrow night, so at least they have interest. So, do you have any questions about a proposal for next year?
What are the green and those, are those ones you've already done, like the little green houses? Because I know, for example, the house that's at 207 East First Street, I think that was one that was included in the original.
I think the green buildings are residential, because if you look up on Main Street, most of those are red.
Okay.
Doug Roth does these maps for us, so he would know. Well, actually, we have a key down here in the corner.
Well, yeah, no, and I wasn't looking at just the shading. Actually,
green is residential and red is commercial.
But do you see the little, what do we call that, pentagon? The pentagon shapes on there?
Yeah.
L-shaped.
That's the ones I'm curious about, because I see there's blue ones up on 122nd East First, which would be the that standing apartment building. I'm just curious if it means something different. The red spots and the blue spots and the green spots. And there's a
I'm not
black
sure.
spot somewhere too.
I'm not sure. I'll
Okay.
make sure that Doug puts the appropriate key on the next map.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you. I was just mostly curious, that's all. Thank you.
Well, now I am.
All right, are there any other questions or comments? May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion, Honorable Mayor, approve the resolution number 29, Series 2019, approving the resolution supporting the application for a grant between the City of Cortez and History Colorado to complete a survey of 22 properties south of Main Street in the original town site.
Second.
Keel.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye.
Thank you, and tomorrow night's meeting is, of course, a public meeting, so you're all welcome to come.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Linda.
you, Linda. I know you guys have worked hard and you have made lots of progress on this. I think you may have started when I first came on council, so nice to see you're coming to the end here. Professional services contract for a financial consultant to help with some Tabor calculations and analysis. Ben?
In preparing well, let me just take a step back. In 1992, as you all are aware, the Colorado voters approved the Tabor Amendment, which limits the amount of revenue, and that's total revenue coming into the governments in which can be retained and spent. In 1998, City of Cortez debruced, which meant that the city could keep and retain any excess revenues up above the Tabor limits. Those revenues are per the ballot and approved by the voters, are meant to go to the Capital Improvement Fund. In preparing the 2020 budget and understanding the mill levy and how everything works, I came across that the city has not been calculating the excess Tabor revenue limits. What that means in essence is there's the ceiling, which you calculate based off of Tabor, and then what the actual revenues the city brought in over and above that ceiling, that excess is to go into a capital improvement fund. This has not been done for a number of years. To be frank, I don't have any detail or calculations going back, so I have no idea when it stopped. I know we don't have it available. So in doing that, for reasons of the urgency of getting this getting calculations and understanding and the impact, so I can really tell you all what an impact is to the city financially, because right now I can't tell you, for a timeliness of that, as well as the Tabor analysis and calculations. And the Tabor statute is complex in nature. There's a lot of nuances to how you calculate the total revenue and then how there's expenditures come in as well. So because of these reasons, what we've looked at doing is engaging professional management solutions. And you have in your packet there a resume of the individual. Her name is Lorraine Trotter. Her company, some references to the company, and her resume, if I did not state that already. She is an ex-director for several municipalities and has worked and continues to work on municipality finances. And we're talked to her about giving us a quote here in the contract here to support that review of the Tabor. Okay, she has initially quoted it as a not to exceed $750. Then the second bit is, while she's here and working, is this second bit is more into help speed up the clerical issues and processes that need improvement for the 2016 to current audits, and to help us move that a little and be more prepared so when we can get in and really clean things up.
All right, council questions?
The only question I had that says spends the necessary funds. I don't like. Sorry about that. The question I have is spend the necessary funds. I just don't like voting on a blank check.
My math's right, she wouldn't exceed $2,310?
There's two separate scopes of work quoted separately.
Yeah,
Tabor-
yeah, I added
so-
the 750 and the 1560.
Yes.
So that comes to 2310.
The reason why I'm being nuanced is because you potentially could do one scope without the other. If you do them both, then yes, your math is correct.
Right, but if we ended up doing both, it would be 2310, and she would not exceed that.
If she were to exceed it, we'd come back to you and ask if we, for whatever reason, determine we needed more.
Can we make a motion setting a cap of 2310?
We could. It does say it does not include travel expense. Are we expected to pay for her travel as well?
For the Tabor effort, no. It's potential for the second part. In being mindful, as we talked about earlier, treating it as if it were my own money, is if we don't have to spend it, I don't want to. We would work every possible path to work remotely.
All right, any other questions, council? May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to sign a contract for $2,310 presented for professional management solutions in support of Tabor calculations and analysis. And I authorize the city manager to spend $2,310 to support the review and implementation of best practices for furthering the completion of all outstanding audit reports, keeping the council informed at each step of the way.
A second.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Betts?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye. All right, we have no draft resolutions, ordinance. I don't think we have any other items of business, do we, Mike?
No, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, would any citizens who are left like to address council? All right. There is no city attorney's report. John, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. City council committee reports. Anybody been to a meeting?
Golf Advisory met for the last time at the end of last month. Kind of wrapped up the year, talked about upcoming projects that they were looking at. Pretty excited to see the flagpole project come to fruition. I think that'll be a good addition to the golf course. In honor of people can buy rocks or bricks to remember people by, and having a flag represented out there will be a nice addition. All in all, fairly good year, good tournaments, good turnout, and as usual, our golf course superintendent exceeds expectations. The guy is masterful, and we're pretty lucky to have him around here, as well as the golf pro and his wife and everyone else that works out there. So, good year.
Anybody else? No? All right. Jill, do you want to say something?
I don't have a committee report. However, prior to the next meeting, Dolores River Brewery is starting comedy nights. They will be doing them once a month, and if you are interested in doing open mics for comedy, you can participate. It's free. And we actually had a Cortez business sponsor it, which is great, which is Matthew's Walk-In Haircuts. He donated $200 per show to us. And so just thanking a local Cortez business owner for helping expand arts in Montezuma County. And that's November 22nd at 8 p.m.
The mayor's report on the workshop. We had a full agenda. Tracy kind of gave us an update on public meetings and outreach that she's done on the new proposed land use code. Dean and Katie Feeney from DHM Design visited with us about the South Neighborhood Park construction. Gave us an update on that. there was discussion about renaming City Park Veterans Park, and council seemed to be in general agreement, so that will be on the next council agenda for approval. Discussion of the city being a fiscal agent for the middle school's GOCO Playground Initiative Grant, which we hope we're able to do. Discussion on the airport runway being extended, the feasibility of that. And then we broke into executive session for the purpose of receiving some legal counsel. Is there anything else for the good of the city? Then this meeting is adjourned.
You're welcome.